Good afternoon, guys. It's a new RIOU talk, and today it's Tracy Taylor, University of Technology, Sydney, and we gonna talk about some personal stuff. But first question is, first, good afternoon,
Good
Professor.
afternoon. Good evening.
Yeah, probably good evening now. And I wanna ask you first about this MCA program. Like, how many teachers from this program do you know personally? Do you know everybody or not? Probably. And can you recommend something what could be upgraded or new courses? So just your feedback.
Um, well, I only see a small part of the program, but I think you're very fortunate to have such a huge range of professors coming through, and everybody is quite senior in the field and very well known. So you're lucky in that respect. I know some of the people, but I won't say who because I don't want you asking me too much personal about them. Obviously, Martin, I know quite well. Benoit Sigan, I also work with. And Michel Debord, I've known for about 20 years. James Skinner, um, as well, I've known since he was doing his PhD, so for a very long time. Vasile, I've known for probably about 20 or 25 years as well. So I think those are Dimitri, I've known her for a long time. She's on my editorial board, the European Sport Management Quarterly Journal. So I know them to varying degrees. Uh, as for the improvement on the program, I mean, I think it's an excellent program. It's very intense. Obviously, having to deal with us professors coming in and out on a regular basis. Maybe we could build in a few more social activities with the professors. And I mean, one of the areas that is gaining a lot of prominence in sport management programs is big data, data analytics. And that probably is something that could be considered in the review of the program. You've got a lot of material on marketing, a number of modules on marketing. Maybe big data could either be included in one of those in relation to consumer behavior, or just looking at data analysis, which is so important now in sport.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. I want to ask you probably. We heard that you visited one of the game of Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, yes.
So we can think that you're a big fan of ice hockey.
I am.
So probably you can share your experiences about some sports, which sports you like to watch, to practice.
Well, I'm an ice hockey fan from when I was very little, and this you probably have read about in the history books when Canada played Russia back in the 1960s. We were all let off school in Canada to watch the final game when Canada won and Russia lost. In terms of my own sporting activities, because I've got no cartilage left in my knees, they're very limited. So I like rock climbing and mountain biking and hiking. That's the main things that I do now. Not much sport. I used to play volleyball and rugby.
Are you from Canada?
Yes.
If I'm okay, I'm right in this thing. Because I thought that the ice hockey in Australia, it seems
Small.
strange for me. Yes. Okay, that's clear. Next question, I want to ask you about the. How did you come up to work with the HR? How did you start your career? What educational background you have? Like which challenges you accepted? Because soon we will finish our program, and probably your advices will be really useful for us.
Okay, so I did my undergraduate degree was in recreation and business from the University of Alberta, which is in Edmonton, and I worked for a couple of years in recreation and sport Then I moved to Australia, and I worked for the Department of Sport and Recreation as a sport and recreation planner, and I did my master's degree in urban planning. Then I moved to work at the university coordinating internships, and I did my PhD on women in sport. Uh, and when I was doing my PhD, which was on cultural diversity in sport, that's when I started to get interested in the human resource management aspects. And so I've done a lot of studies in relation to women's equality or inequality in sport, disability in sport, gender diversity in sport, and looking at sport from the people management side of things.
And have you met any prejudice, any kind of prejudice? You started with this topic, or what attracted you in this topic, gender issues, and probably now when you're teaching, when you're coming to different places, universities, you also faced, I don't know, any prejudice also?
Well, it's an interesting question. So because in a business faculty, we don't have a lot of, or we didn't have a lot of women when I started, I was quite fortunate that I was always the woman on the committees, the woman, excuse me, representing the business school. So that gave me a lot of experience. It's not always seen to be that way in sport. It is a boys' club to a certain degree, more so in some countries than others.
As far as we are talking about the staff, it's many people, different names, a lot of information, birthdays. How you can remember all the birthdays, all names? Probably have some techniques you can share with us.
That's an interesting question. Before the days of internet and keeping everything on your devices, I used to be very good at remembering everything. Now I just have reminders in my calendar that ping, and I don't really think too much about birthdays, etc. Names, like I did with your group, I try and do alliterations or remember something about someone that triggers the memory of their name. Birthdays. And I find that, for birthdays, it's just in my calendar now. I can't remember them. Okay. I'm sure that it's like I can remember the first phone number I ever had as a child, but I can't even remember my husband's mobile number now because I just don't have to dial it. Okay.
So let's go for short questions. Yeah. My first question is the woman in sport you inspired.
Which woman?
Yeah, which woman?
Oh, as in a female athlete or a leader or?
Doesn't matter.
That's an interesting question. When I was growing up, it was a woman by the name of Nancy Green, who was the first Canadian downhill skier to win a gold medal in World Championship. And then when she finished her athletic career, she went on to develop a resort we now call Whistler Blackcomb and a few other resorts and be very successful in business. So she was one of my early role models.
Okay. A woman outside of sport?
A woman outside of sport. Well, there's a politician in Australia, Julia Gillard, who was Prime Minister for a short period of time. And when she was in power, she had a lot of men in particular that were very nasty to her, yet she held her dignity the whole time. And so she didn't go down to the depths that they were sinking to in terms of being very cruel about her and her looks and her dress and anything that she said, just because she was a woman. They wouldn't have done that for a man. So I would think I could say I admired the way in which she reacted.
What is the most valuable characteristic you appreciate in people?
For me personally, it's transparency and equity.
The worst.
Where to start? Narcissism.
And what is your best personal characteristic in your opinion?
Well, it certainly wouldn't be my patience. I don't think I have a lot of that. I'd say my determination.
The main challenge in leading people.
The main challenge, I think, is it's a good question. The main challenge is trying to understand how people view the world from their perspective, particularly when it's quite different from yours. If they have a different set of values or a different set of beliefs or a different sense of what they should be doing at work.
Your favorite sport club?
It's still the Montreal Canadiens.
And imagine the situation if you go to an island where nobody lives and you have an opportunity to take 3 music albums, 3 books, and 3 movies. What you gonna choose?
3 albums. I would take one from the Beatles, one from Dire Straits, and one from The Who. As 3 books, I would take 3 books I haven't read yet. So 3 new books. Because I don't... it could be anything. And what was the third one? 3 movies. I hate watching movies again and again. I like watching them only once. So again, it would be 3 movies that I haven't seen yet.
It was Tracy Taylor, University of Technology, Sydney. And thank you for watching. And I hope you will stay with us. And let's see new interviews in this trimester at RIOU Talk. See you guys.
You say goodbye and I say hello.